Welcome everybody. As always, please do me a favor and let me know if the audio and visual is all good on your end. Sorry, the stream's a little later than usual, but I've been kind of bouncing around between a couple lakes and figured I would do a last minute live stream before heading back into nature since I probably won't be streaming again this week. So, yeah, with that being said, guys, I just want to kind of take a quick look at Bitcoin on a few different time frames, but also, as you all know by this point, I've actually been more interested in trading altcoins lately, like Ethereum, Solana, Hype, etc. So yeah, I want to take a look at a handful of altcoins as well, real quickly. If you appreciate this last minute live stream, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And with that, let's hop right into it, guys. I actually want to start by looking at Bitcoin's weekly chart just to get an overall feel for the market as usual. Nothing has really changed here. I still have this big, ugly RSI divergence that I just have a little bit of concern with that yeah, maybe we end up seeing a bit of a short-term rejection here. I still have a feeling this RSI is going to pump above 70. And at that point, this divergence would be invalidated and we would just be seeing a lot of strength in the market. So I would love to see the RSI holding above 70, but so far we aren't quite there. But we're also not seeing a crazy rejection or anything. So and like I said last stream, you guys, we actually have this STUBER. Even if we do see some sort of a correction from here, we at least have created this new higher high here, which then obviously confirmed our new higher low. So that was, we actually were able to move an actual weekly macro structure level from about 74.5 thousand all the way up to about 98.2 thousand. As long as we're holding above that level, guys, we are looking golden at this point. And I love to see that we broke that structure and brought that higher low up so drastically like that, just because then we have much tighter invalidation for our bullish continuation from this point. Now what I'm seeing, guys, is what I would really like to see with, I mean, we still have 5 days remaining on this weekly candle here. I would love to see it engulf this red candle that we had a little bit of a pause here. Because if we end up pulling back at this point, I mean, this whole range is still fair game to retest, basically. You know, you guys know how I look at it. Shorter time frames. I mean, same thing, right? Basically, if this was a short time frame, I would be looking for long setups down in this area. So to see it happen on the weekly, I mean, it's absolutely a possibility, and that would be dropping down towards let's just say 104 to 101,000 US dollars. And I'm not saying we have to go there, you guys. We don't have to retrace down all that way. But basically, it's still in the cards that that would be very healthy price action. However, if we end up being able to engulf this red candle this week, we once again get to bring up our higher low on the microstructure significantly, right? That would bring our higher low up to about $115.8 thousand. That's huge, right? That's even above my invalidation for that STUBER fib, right? The macro one that I was watching before that I was cautious with until breaking out, basically. That STUBER fib, that 115, I mean, we are currently still consolidating above that rejection zone. So, I mean, that is beautiful to see. So if we're able to create another higher high here, even if it's just on the micro trend, at that point, I can start bringing my fib up even higher and starting the bottom of my pull from the bottom of this red candle here, basically. So I love what the structure is doing at this point. It still just looks beautiful to me. And even if we do see a correction, I think the market still looks good at this point. On the 4 hour, we did play out this little bit of a STUBER here. Obviously, we just broke this structure here, end up going up back towards resistance and coming back to the 786, 886 fib pocket. It's actually played out a couple of times at this point, and that's why I'm not really too surprised to see us pulling back a little bit at this point. You know, the price is struggling just a little bit because we are right around that 214 fib, that fib target, right? If we would have went long here. I personally didn't. I've been trading Ethereum and Solana mostly. I haven't even been trading Bitcoin. I've been quite vocal about that for a while. Even while I was bearish on Bitcoin, I was significantly more bullish on altcoins. And that is basically how there's a chance I'm going to feel that way for the rest of this market cycle, right? Because Even if Bitcoin's going to continue to climb at this point, I feel like that's a green light, especially if Bitcoin dominance is dropping and stuff like that. That's just a green light for things like Ethereum and Solana, and then obviously a select few of other coins or whatever, to continue pumping as well. So at this point, it's obviously if Bitcoin pulls back, we're likely going to see Ethereum and Solana pull back as well. However, once they find their footing, once they find their support levels, the bounces are going to be much more aggressive. So that's kind of my point of wanting to trade more so Ethereum and Solana lately, mainly. I will get into that in a second here. Solana's actually been my favorite coin of choice for the last few days only. And that's because, guys, even in my last video, I was talking about the possibility of Solana going back up to about 250 to 300 US dollars. I still think that's on the cards. But again, we'll finish up with Bitcoin here first. Bringing up the Trendmaster indicator here on the 4-hour, you guys, notice we're still holding this beautiful buy trend. I was saying that, since we had these lower sell signals, this was quite a while back. I was saying that basically a warning of strength would be if we end up invalidating this lower sell signal. So once we got above this level here, above 108.8, basically that was a bit of a warning shot that this downtrend has broken. So at this point, we still have this beautiful buy signal. It's still holding the price above it currently. Even if we end up flipping, getting a little pullback, print a new sell signal on this indicator, the MDX Trendmaster, yeah, it might signal that there's a temporary sell-off or just a bit of a correction, but it's going to be such a significantly higher sell signal that they'll obviously be trending to the upside. And that's where I'd be looking for a higher buy signal or a pullback. Basically, to where did we start this trend would be right here. And, if we do get a sell signal, it's very possible that we're going to come and retest that whole range. And that's that same one I was looking at on the weekly, right? Basically 104 to 101,000 US dollars. So that's that same structure just on the 4-hour, how it looks. But that would line up with how I like to pull my Fibonacci's while using the Trendmaster as confluence. That would be a perfect example right there. So again, even if we do see that deep correction, I'm just looking at that as a buying opportunity, as just really looking at scooping up some cheaper altcoins, because they would obviously most likely be taking some sort of a hit if Bitcoin does drop down to those levels. But yeah, even if that happens, it's not really a red flag to me. It would just be a big swing. So we'll see what happens with that. Bitcoin on the lower time frames. So there is this potential STUBER that it is currently trading in. One thing to consider is if I'm just looking for market structure, this would be my high, and we never actually did print a higher high, obviously on the smaller ranges we did. But had we broken above this, I would have loved to pull a fib from down here. But since that hasn't happened, I don't have that as a valid fib pull right now. So on the micro trend, yeah, I see potential for this because, again, much like what I was talking about, here's our previous, see, we have a trend of higher buy signals. And often I like to pull fibs from those swing points and then look for fibs that way. Again, I'm not as interested with Bitcoin right now. But, if the bulls are going to just blast right through this 4-hour resistance, I think it would basically happen right now. Or we see a little bit of a pullback even to this indicator. Let's call it 118.4 thousand. Even slightly lower. I mean, I think that would still be very healthy and just basically retesting this moving average, basically. Now I want to get into altcoins a little bit more, you guys. Yeah, I can absolutely check out Peng on the 5-minute very soon here. That's actually a coin I have been watching a little bit. I don't hold any right now, but yeah, I'll check it out. Bitcoin dominance, you guys. I mean, I was warning, especially in the Telegram, you guys, I was warning about this, that, hey, we had 3 perfect touch points. If we end up losing that support and flipping it to resistance, I mean, that's going to be a big green light for altcoins. And we got that perfect support resist flip. Beautiful trend line, also broke this horizontal level of support. We got our typical retracement, but that was just our first warning sign. Then we got the flip the SR flip there, and absolutely dumped off a cliff. Never found support at this level. In fact, flipped this old support, this horizontal support from this swing point on the 4 hour. We flipped that into resistance perfectly. So yeah, this, in my opinion, at some point, this is going to have to bounce. But at this point, Bitcoin dominance has been dropping off of a cliff. And that's with the price of Bitcoin holding very well, right? It's not like that money is moving out of Bitcoin and into altcoins and scaring people with Bitcoin or anything like that. It's actually a nice divergence to have, that the price is staying strong while the focus isn't even on that coin anymore. So, right, that's some good strength to see in the market. And that means that there's actual money coming into altcoins, not just coming straight out of Bitcoin, right? But yeah, so I love to see this. I mean, obviously this looks bearish, but we all know here that this is actually Bitcoin dominance, and seeing that drop is very good for the market in general, that people are willing to get into riskier assets. Basically, that's a good sign of health, or at least greed in the market. Ethereum, Bitcoin as well, you guys. I was talking about this chart, I think when Ethereum was around $2,000 or so, but basically, as soon as we broke this diagonal resistance here, again, we had several pinpoint accurate touch points on that line, end up breaking that, as well as our horizontal lower high. Because here, same thing with the structure, right? We had these lows here. We set a lower low. That means the highest point between the two would actually be right here. So that's my yellow line. And as soon as we broke that, I mean, that's where, Bitcoin was, I think, trading around $110,000 or so, and Ethereum was around 2,000-ish. And I had mentioned that I was taking some profits on Bitcoin and moving it around, and people were telling me that was a silly idea. I mean, I don't care if I took some profits on Bitcoin at 110,000 when I threw a bunch of it into Ethereum and Hype and Sol, and they have been drastically outperforming Bitcoin. I mean, since we ended up breaking out of this, guys, since we broke the horizontal level, I mean, at this point, Ethereum has outperformed Bitcoin since, well, when did this happen? That would have been in May, early May. Since that, Ethereum has outperformed Bitcoin by about 54%. And the thing is, guys, Bitcoin's been doing great. That's not disrespect to Bitcoin in any kind. That's just showing how much strength there is in the market in general, that Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin by that much when Bitcoin is doing well. And yeah, let's just take a look at Ethereum. I mean, one thing to consider, you guys, is that with the Bitcoin dominance, technically this little micro downtrend did break here. So that could be a little warning sign that even if we see this little pullback, we may see that support bounce. Like I was saying, eventually this chart should bounce. I don't know if it's going to. I hope it doesn't, but it is possible. And with that being said, Ethereum is also getting towards some very serious resistance, right? I still think it can go higher. I still think that we can retest the STUBER fibs, at least from the actual all-time highs, right? Technically, we are already in one. Notice we're just basically testing this STUBER fib here if I pull from this swing point here. But just with the state of the market and, Bitcoin smashing all-time highs, altcoins doing well, I figure I'd rather pull the bigger range and just be open to the idea that, resistance does stretch a little bit further if we have it pulled this way too. So we're starting to get to resistance right now. But at this point, I would not be too surprised to see Ethereum climb a little bit higher. And honestly, depending how it goes, I mean, if the market goes full bull market mode, and when Ethereum breaks all-time highs, if the market decides to go full parabolic, then yeah, maybe we'll see some new highs, right? Maybe we'll see Ethereum above 5K. Who knows? Maybe not. We'll have to see. Obviously, have just like Bitcoin, how Bitcoin, I wanted to break the 115 fib. That would be basically $5,500 for Ethereum to break that. And if it does, I mean, that could be a beautiful thing. But don't be too surprised if we see a bit of a rejection just above all-time highs too. Just a couple of things to watch for on Ethereum there. Ethereum on the 4 hour. Still looks good to me. Same thing with Bitcoin, right? Just a beautiful buy trend with this indicator. This buy signal was down around, well, that would have happened when the candle closed around 2,495 US dollars. And it's just been holding that beautiful trend since then. So basically, support for this indicator is currently around 3580 USD. But really, I would give a little bit of wiggle room kind of to the structure back here. As long as Bitcoin's above, or sorry, Ethereum is above 3480, it's looking quite good to me. If we end up losing that, then I want to see some more microstructure form where it ends up confirming lower highs and then breaking that. And then at that point, I can assume that the downtrend has broken prematurely. Otherwise, we just could turn into a waterfall. But I don't think that's too likely at this point. We shall see. I'm going to take a look at Solana yet, and then I will take a look at Peng for you there. I know we do just have a small turnout today. I know it's such a late stream for most people right now, but like I said, I just don't have time later in the weekend. Well, it's not that I don't have time. I'm just not going to be around. So I won't be able to do another stream this week. So I just had to just do this last minute one here. But yeah, Solana next, you guys. I was talking about the possibility last stream that it works its way up towards 250 US dollars. I really have a feeling that in the next couple of weeks we're going to see it. Obviously, it doesn't have to happen, but much like Bitcoin, how Bitcoin went and tested macro resistance, and that's why I started getting bullish on altcoins, that I figured they would probably, as long as there's going to be some sort of an alt cycle and Bitcoin dominance drops, I would assume that Ethereum would hit that pocket, right? And it did, around 3,800 US dollars. And now Solana, looking to play catch up right now, looking strong, broke, this lower high is printed out by my AI charting tools. So broke out of resistance from that indicator there. The trend master, we got a higher buy signal here on the daily. There's some very good looking technicals going for Solana right now. And being that the macro resistance doesn't really start till about 250, I just don't see why we wouldn't get up there unless something spooks the market or something like that, obviously. The 4 hour, we've just been seeing the odd, every little range. It just seems like it pulls back to that STUBER fib pocket, right? I mean, here we end up going up there, back to resistance, pull back to that support level. Candle bodies all holding the 786, 886 fib pocket there, blasting off higher, setting higher high, higher high, higher high. So at that point, basically, this was our last high, higher low. Same thing, right? Come back to that fib pocket and blast it off from there. Just a beautiful uptrend with Solana. We even saw it in these little micro ranges here. But so at this point, even the fact that we did get a candle body close above these wicks here, even with this little pullback that it's currently seeing, I mean, that's very normal, right? If you look at any time frame, if you look at a 1 minute or a 5 minute or a 15 minute or a 1 hour, it's very natural for the price of a candle to close and then retest back inside that candle. Not even the range, guys. That's just pulling back and retesting a candle. That's one thing a lot of people have a very hard time with longer time frames like daily and weekly. You see a weekly pullback a little bit and just to retest a candle, and people panic very quickly. But even on the 4 hour here, like I said, we have that break above. So I would really like to see us continue climbing and not lose this old resistance, flipping it into resistance again. But at this point, it just doesn't look too bad to me. I want to check, did I have the trend master up? Same thing. We are getting a little extended, a little far away from that buy trend on Solana. So that's another thing. Again, guys, much like what I said with Bitcoin, with Ethereum, anything in the market right now, some sort of a pullback would be totally healthy, in my opinion. It doesn't mean the cycle's over if we end up, if Solana goes back below 200 or even $190 or whatever. That's just a couple of days of price action. I think the market still looks good. There's still indicators, structure, everything's still trending to the upside. And until that changes, I have no reason to flip bearish again at this point, much like how people try and catch a knife and get burned when they're trying to buy support just randomly without actually having any structure there. Much the exact same, but the opposite direction, right? Basically standing in front of a train if you're trying to short this right now. Take a look at the 5 minute. I was actually in a bit of a scalp earlier. I'm not in it anymore. But I did take this little STUBER down here. Ended up closing it basically when we lost this little hunk of support here. Ended up closing the rest of that position at that point and kind of looking for a pullback at this point. I had actually mentioned in my Telegram that I was looking at this. This is the range that I had mapped out, actually on the 1 minute though. But yeah, I had pointed out that here was support, resistance, especially mapped out with my indicator, pointing out those swing points as well. But we never did get that pullback into the fib pocket like I was hoping for. So it is what it is. That never happened. That fib is invalid at this point. If we do get some sort of a pullback at this point, I'm just kind of looking back. Where did we top before this little cluster back here? That would be about right here. So that was our old high. Yeah, I'm actually going to remove those swing points because since they're saying different things to what I'm saying, but we have this high and we've now broken that. So this would be the lowest point between the two. So I'd be pulling a fib something like this. So that's where I'd be starting to look for support again if we are going to continue down there. If we can break some sort of a micro downtrend, then sure, maybe we can get into an early long. But again, lower sell signal. It is just the 1 minute, but just more reasons why I think we could push down a little bit at this point. Bollinger Bands, yeah, they're curling to the downside. Yeah. All right, let's finally take a look at that ping for you. Is it actually even on leverage? I don't know. Probably not. Probably MEXC would be one of the best, hey, for this guy. And you look at the 5 minute. Let me know what exchange you look at ping on, because if you're looking at the 5 minute when it gets all blocky and choppy and gappy like this, that's a little bit scary to actually be trading. I guess spot trading isn't quite as dangerous, but it just slippage could be a thing if you're looking at that sort of thing. But as far as the 5 minute goes, I mean, I do see this. Right, we tested down to the 886 already. Because basically we had this high, higher low, pull the fib, boom, you would have two entries. Still technically at support, basically, right? Your targets would be something like so. But again, this looks to me like it has very low volume, and that could be overthrown. That analysis could be overthrown really quickly. I do want to zoom out a little bit. I will take a look at Link right away as well. There was a nice one on this. If we go for where this swing really started. See, so obviously there's always bigger ranges. There's always ranges inside of ranges inside other ranges, right? Depending what kind of time frame you're looking at. But so far where this thing bottomed and then, you know, it broke a whole bunch of structure, and then where does it find support, right? Even back here, this would have played out several times, right? Because we got that one. We got from our fib pocket to the 0.5 fib. Where did it get after that? Right down to the 886. You would have got a couple entries there, and your 0.5 fib hit again. Now at this point, still climbing. Hasn't quite made it to that 214 target, but yeah, this was beautiful support down here. I don't follow this project or anything. I don't know if there's much trade volume anywhere on it. I assume there's more on things like you know, decentralized exchanges, actually, with something like this, like on a Phantom wallet or something. There's probably better liquidity, better volume, that sort of stuff. But Yeah, not looking so bad at this point. As long as, much like what I was saying with a lot of the other coins, right? As long as nothing really spooks the market. I mean, this is holding nice structure so far. It's nice that it broke the downtrend and it's holding support right where I would have expected it to, basically. Link. I will take a look at Link. See, we have a few new viewers. Guys, I was just mentioning, sorry, I know it is a late stream for most people, so a bit of a smaller crowd. I just wanted to do a last minute stream before I leave town again. So Link, 5 minute. Let's start on the 4 hour. Looks like I had something mapped out. Oh, actually, I know what this is. I don't remember when I did this. Must have been last week when I was streaming here. Trendmaster. So that's where, like I was talking about with breaking the lower trending sell signals, just like with Bitcoin on the 4 hour, I was looking at the same on Link. Obviously, I don't even remember doing this, but that's obviously what I mapped out. That was our pivot point for our last lower sell signal. And when we ended up breaking that, that was our green light. That was basically our warning that we were going to take off to the upside. And so far, that was a beautiful breakout. Yeah, we ended up breaking it. We pulled back to that buy signal, basically. But yeah, this was the signal that even with this minor pullback, the strength was to the upside. So beautiful to see that, still holding that buy trend. I wouldn't really want to see us drop below this structure back here. Like, really, even losing this support at around $18.15. I would like to see that hold as support if we pull back a little bit. But yeah, let's see, what can I do here just to look for a little bit of wiggle room. That's quite a ways away from here, but basically as long as we're holding above $16.78, I mean, as far as looking at something like the 4 hour, that's obviously, it's a fairly big range. But it is what it is. It looks healthy as long as we're holding this, basically. I want to zoom out a little further. Let's check out the weekly. This could be interesting. The fact that this indicator, I don't see this often, could also depend on the exchange. This is on BloFin, so there's not a, well, there's quite a bit of history there. But yeah, the fact that we, well, same thing, right? We got a sell signal and we already broke above it. And this line is actually turning from blue to pink already. If we get a higher buy signal, that would be, in my opinion, a sign of a lot of strength. This would most likely take several weeks to end up printing that signal, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So far, it looks beautiful. Same thing with the daily, right? Yeah, Link is looking good. Just like most altcoins, right? As long as Bitcoin dominance is dropping, but the prices aren't nuking out of fear of anything, like there's nothing really spooking the market, just healthy corrections at this point. You know, altcoins are looking good. AVAX on the 5 minute. I can take a look at AVAX. All right, what do we have here? I see something in hindsight that doesn't really help us, but just for educational purposes. See how often that happens when you end up breaking some structure levels like that. You pull back to the 786, 886. It happens so often. But that being said, guys, if we do continue pulling back, I would even extend that something like this. I would actually consider pulling something like this. Oh, actually, look how well that played out. So it's obviously already hit the second target. That's a little risky. I really like to play these on the first test, and this has happened a few times already. But I mean, support is support until it's broken. So basically, as long as we're holding above $24.20 for AVAX, it's looking good for me. Momentum to the upside. Trendmaster. So we did also just break this sell signal that we would have had right here, or actually a lower one. So that already had a decent little move. But same thing, right? We broke this sell signal, even flipped it into support, and boom, got a nice little move to the upside there. Sorry, one sec. Let me just see if there's anything else popping out at me. Like, I would really like a new setup. The thing is, if we set a new high at this point, get above this range here, then we would have a new confirmed higher low, and we could pull a brand new STUBER, something like this, and then look for those entries down here, basically. Unfortunately, we don't have that at this time, so that is something to consider. All I can really give you on this right now on the 5 minute is hindsight. However, what else could we look for? Again, it's looking nice. The fact that it is holding, still holding this buy trend, broke this sell signal, finding support where I would expect it to find support, also in just a bigger uptrend. I mean, things are looking good. It's just that, as far as a nice tight invalidation setup from down at this pocket, for example, actually what I personally like to do is ladder in 4 entries. Just so if we do get stopped out, then at least my average entry is somewhere in this general area. And then it's a significantly smaller loss when it happens. But that's the thing with right now. I mean, yeah, if you wanted to look for some sort of a tight stop loss setup, I mean, we're reclaiming this buy trend here. If we get a candle close right there, which we just did, you could have your invalidation somewhere down here, just kind of below 25.31. But again, it's a little riskier because it's a continuation. We could pull back and it could still be healthy. So you could, if you try and do a tight stop, you could get stopped out and then it carries on in the direction that you want, kind of a thing. So that's what I love about those fib pullbacks, is that the invalidations are so tight, especially when you ladder into them properly, that it's just a nice low risk type of setup. Because trading isn't just about winning every trade. It's also just about controlling your losses, because they do happen. No trade setup is ever perfect. So, yeah, I would really like to see that break out of this range here and then get a proper STUBER fib pullback. But it is what it is. Trending nicely, like I said. Yeah, man, so many altcoins have just been looking so good. What is, I want to look at Solana again. That's kind of my baby right now. Still holding this buy trend. See, I was really hoping to pull back into this fib pocket, much like what I was just talking about with AVAX, right? Just don't know if I'm going to get it. We also have the AI charting tools printed a higher low here. So just a little bit of confluence that, yeah, this is a valid pivot point. But again, I would just really like to ladder into something like this rather than FOMOing up here. But that doesn't mean I'll get what I want. But yeah, guys, I've been watching altcoins so much more than Bitcoin lately, like I said. And that's actually something that I've been, showing quite a bit in my Telegram channel recently. Like I said, I was warning about this drop on the Bitcoin dominance and why I was getting so bullish on altcoins. And then just several trade setups, right? Like I said, opening along on hype, got a nice hype long there, hit a couple of my targets. Another one, right? Hype pulled back again, laid out in advance. what was this? Yeah, Ethereum, guys, especially the end of last week. I was really just hammering on the Ethereum longs, and there was a couple days there where I posted so many setups like this and well in advance. I know this is just a 1 minute chart, but this was laid out something like an hour and a half in advance. And beautiful entry there, beautiful position. Got some nice gains off that one. Ended up catching another one, right? Hoping to find support soon here with my fib pulled. Boom, we hit the 886 again and take off again. Absolutely beautiful. Another one here just showing, hey, I'm going to ladder into my long on Ethereum here, laid out in advance. Boom, target one. But also talking about structure, you guys. Because I know in these streams, I often talk about how I'm looking at microstructure and that sort of thing. And here's a perfect example where I wasn't really willing to get into a new STUBER long on this way down, just because we kept setting lower lows, which was confirming lower highs. So since we never broke one of those, I never had a reason to pull a fib. Ended up taking a bit of a long, just it was a little higher risk. It wasn't on a pullback or anything, but it was just when we ended up breaking this downtrend, took a bit of a long. Same thing when we lost it on the other side. I closed most of it here, keeping my followers up to date with that too. Not that I post every trade in there, but I do post a lot of setups ahead of time. Just how I'm looking at structure, how I'm pulling my Fibonacci's, some things that I'm looking at in advance. Some things are just educational because sometimes it's hard to catch them, right? If I notice something on the 1 minute, can't always be posted in time, whatever. But yeah, that's we've been talking a lot of altcoins in the Telegram recently. And for those of you guys who are in my Telegram, my partners at BloFin are also currently giving this promotion, trading and deposit bonuses here. They're very good about keeping you guys, new and existing members, joining. You guys are all qualify for this, so there is some details down below there. But yeah, if that's something that interests you, I did share it in the Telegram as well. I'll probably share it on my Twitter as well coming up. But yeah, guys, market looking great in general. Right. I mean, I know I was quite bearish for quite a while. It was actually, I shouldn't even say that because I was bullish on altcoins. I was mostly just bearish on Bitcoin from a standpoint of we were at resistance. But this is where it gets fun again. I know people thought that I was a perma bear and I would never flip my opinion. However, right from Christmas, basically, I laid out what the red flags were that I wanted invalidated before I got bullish on Bitcoin again. So yeah, for the most part, I missed out on about a 5% move, but I caught way bigger moves on Ethereum and hype. So, and I shouldn't even say I missed out because I just took some profits on my Bitcoin, not all of it. So, but yeah. Anyways, guys, yeah, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So hopefully you found this stream useful. If so, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss these streams. And as I mentioned, guys, if you want access to my private Telegram channel where I share some of my theories, trade setup ideas, just my overall thoughts and on the markets in general, there is a scannable QR code on the screen as well as a link in the description down below. And there should be a automatic sign up bot there. So you sign up to BloFin and yeah, that gets you access to my Telegram channel for free, where I'm sharing a whole bunch of these random posts of how I look at structure, how I pull my fibs, how I look at some of my indicators, all that sort of good stuff, you guys. So hopefully see you in there. With that, enjoy the rest of your weeks. Enjoy the rest of your week, or rather, not weeks. I will be back probably early next week. Like I said, I won't be around the rest of the week. But yeah, good luck in the trades, my friends. And I will be, even while I'm away, I will be posting in the Telegram a little bit. Obviously, not quite as much as when I'm around here. But yeah, I'll still have an eye on things, and I'll still be looking to trade a little bit if I can find some service. So yeah, with that, stay safe, my friends. Peace out.